Hello and welcome to another episode of the Shaman and the Philosopher. And tonight we have a very special person for me, George, who is a friend, a board member of our Institute for Natural Philosophy. But I will lead the ceremonies being done by Jason, who will introduce our guests today.
Thank
Welcome
you very
all.
much. Welcome all to the Shaman and the Philosopher. I am Jason Huffman, the shaman side of this deal, and today we are honored to welcome with us George Sakelaris. George is an amateur philosopher, poet, photographer, designer, and artist. George was born and raised on the beaches of New Jersey, where he lives while raising his two kids. He discusses ideas, theories, and publishes work focusing on what exists beyond the ubiquitous. George Sakelaris, welcome to the Shaman and the Philosopher. We are very happy to have you taking your time to talk with us this afternoon.
Yeah, my pleasure. Ricardo, Jason, it's a pleasure. I appreciate it. I look forward to the discussion. Uh, it's been a great journey, and I'm happy to be a part of it.
Thank you. So I think to start, tell us a little bit about yourself, because people at home might not know who you are and what you do, and we'll start from there.
So, George,
Yep.
Ricardo should know by now, I always add one thing to this question with the guests. And what's important to me here is all of the individuals we meet have passion and purpose sort of evident in them, right? And we're engaged in things that may or may not pay, but certainly are not necessarily celebrated by the mainstream authorities in the various fields we're in. So I just like for each person to touch on what is that passion quotient for you that also has you kind of sitting where you are before us now.
Yeah, you brought up a good subject there because I agree with that 100%. There's so many things that I do in my life that is focused around the artistic, creative side within me. A lot of the things that I do are, you could just use simple terms, they're for free. But they're for free where you don't earn enough money from it, really, to, I don't want to say be famous, to be one of those rich and famous people, celebrities. But you
Right.
do it because of the passion, because you love to do it. You know, there's a little part of me, well, there's a big part of me actually, that likes to help people because it provides and it gives me that, it helps me help myself. It makes me feel good.
I call
So,
that selfish selflessness is how I identified the same thing. I learned that by helping others, I was doing a lot for myself. That's why in AA, when all else fails, they say help a fellow sufferer. Yeah, yeah, it's beautiful.
what it does is fill a void within you, that void, that peace that you look for. And quite often, if you want to look at philosophically, it it will fulfill that which you need. So in other words, you need help with something, and offering help to somebody else fills that void. A
Amen
lot
to
of
that.
times a lot of times there's people that won't ask for help because of ego, chip on their shoulder, or they're too proud to do so. When you help others, you get that sense of filling that void. One of the things that with help is learning when you should ask for help as well. So I don't want to be a therapist here. I mean, this the whole idea is is speaking philosophically, but
Right, right.
but but all of that is part of it, and it
Mhm.
creates who you are. But it doesn't create only who you are, but why you are. And a lot of times people focus on what you are as opposed to why you are or who you are.
Indeed.
And yeah,
Very well
and
said.
It wouldn't be much. You wouldn't be much of a philosopher if you didn't take care first of yourself and understanding
yes,
yourself in order to be able to philosophize in general and particular. So I think
yes,
that that's the beginning.
exactly. And if you're not happy with yourself, you can't make other people happy.
Right,
If you can't sit there and say, I understand myself, how can you understand someone else?
right,
So I
right,
can't take time to understand Jason properly because I don't understand myself.
right.
And I hate to use the word completely or some kind of definitive word like that.
Hmm.
But I understand, you could say, to me, I understand myself enough so that I can really understand other people and either what they're going through or what it is. And I can understand the situation and either try to help or provide advice or just simple support. So a lot of that is extremely important. And, you know, with me, I have the ability to take apart the complexity, take the simplicity within that complexity and focus on that simplicity. And I think once you do that and you remove all of that, all of the extra complexity into the process, into life, into anything, I think you'll be able to focus on uh, what the solution is, or what what the main issue would be, what the main purpose is, what the main focus is.
Well, I think that that starts when we are able to do what I call a constant auto-analysis. We constant analyze ourselves. Why did I did it? Or why did I took that attitude? Or why didn't I react? Or why do I feel this at this particular moment? Because that, to me, those are the keys in order to understand the next person. Because if I don't understand that in myself, I won't be able to understand that in others. And that leads sometimes to irrational actions, to situations where people react in ridiculous ways when there's no reason whatsoever for it, because everybody is boiling up with everything that they have inside, unsolved, unsought, and unreflected upon.
Well, yeah, it goes back into the ancient philosophers. They questioned, and a lot of it is why. It's the simplest thing, and why, and then they're proposing a theory or an idea, or as they say, philosophy, based off of that why. And a lot of that is existence. You look back to Trismegistus, Hermes was one of my favorite, and I quote some of his work a lot because I believe in his seven principles of the universe. That Hermetic philosophy is something that science now is starting to figure out. Everything vibrates. The seven principles of the universe. Plato, Aristotle, books behind me are full of philosophies. Sometimes I don't wish to read them anymore because I don't want to think like them. I want to think for myself. So what I would do and what I do in my work is that my idea is I will read somebody else's work like Hermes and see what I agree with it or I don't agree with. But most of the time I agree with it. So I don't want their work to affect my thought process. So I don't read a lot, which is kind of the opposite of most people. I only read, I actually only read things to say, okay, has this been stated before? And if it has, what is my theory compared to this theory? So I will do that research, so to speak.
Hmm.
Excellent.
And
You bring to mind, as we're in philosophy here, just real quickly, what you're describing about not reading reminds me of Nietzsche, and the thou shouts, right, where the young boy goes into the desert to slay the dragon of thou shouts, and the thou shouts are everything that everybody else says. Every bit of construct from the social matrix outside of just the basic life force, right? So you go in and you kill that so that everything, as you say, is yours from there on out. Before we dive into philosophy, though, I just want to bring up and really highlight something you said about simple, right? And keeping things simple. Philosophy, obviously has a reputation. People think abstract, but you were talking about how service drives you and how service to others drives you. And I know I've seen Ricardo evidence the same. I try to evidence the same. I don't care if I evidence because I learned something, right? To my point that I call it selfish selflessness because, as they taught us in AA, when you've got a bunch of addicts, right, we're used to grabbing something that works. Why do we have an addiction, right? Because it works right now, right? Why was I drinking all that alcohol? Because it worked. It helped me deal with all of the shit out here in this world that didn't make sense, right? It was functional. Then you get an AA, and luckily, you find the right person, and they go, hey, well done. Well done. You found a way to survive in this world so far, and it's got you here. But I think we can agree the repercussions now are adding up, and let's look for another method. And you're sitting there going, there's not another method. Show me another method. And they go, okay, I'm going to show you one. You're going to start helping other people. You're going to start putting other things ahead of yourself, right? And what I immediately found was the same thing I found when I took a shot of whiskey, when I was feeling all that anxiety. It worked. It worked. When I
Yeah,
help others and I get out of my head, I feel better. I feel relieved. And that is what you were pointing out to me and what you were saying about how you function. And I think we all do that. It's so simple. And we do it because it works. That was beautiful, George. Thank you.
yeah, and you know what? I could kind of relate to the alcoholism part of it. I mean, I don't want to get too deep into
Oh,
myself,
sure. Yeah, no, we can talk whatever, bro.
but not that I was an alcoholic, but I have experience with other people that were alcoholics.
Yeah.
So I think some of that may relate as well, because being treated one way by an alcoholic also makes you, it puts you in a position where you want to help somebody that you see struggle
Mm.
with something and it affects you.
Mm-hmm.
So now you become a helper. You become wanting to save somebody or help somebody.
That's it.
But in the end, they need to save themselves. You made that decision.
Yes, it's true.
Nobody saved you. You saved yourself.
Correct. That is true. The kernel that starts that out, they call identification, right? Because when you are in the place that alcohol or severe addiction puts you, you honestly do not believe there's a human being on this planet that can understand. You know,
Yeah.
that is a true feeling, right? So what it takes is somebody coming along and simply speaking their story. And in their
Yeah.
story, you hear your story and you go, okay, fine, you understand. What did you do? And that's where we go. But what you also kind of gave me chills over there is you're speaking on, you know, the reason I use this word shaman, right, so much is what you're speaking on is what a shaman is, right? Is someone who has gone and found their own medicine, right? They took their problem and they went with themselves and spirit, as a shaman would say, and they found their medicine. Now, when you've done that and you come back and you see somebody that needs that medicine, yes, it's within them, but you see they are suffering from the same thing. You can't help but have, hopefully, that compulsory response of going, hey, been there, found the medicine, I can point you, you know, I can help. And
But
that's
you got to
really
take that.
important.
Yes. Here's the medicine, but it's your choice whether you
Right.
want to take it or not. What pill are you
100%.
going to take? The Matrix. What?
Mhm.
Which? It's one or the other. Okay. There's no in between. You take this, you go here. You take this one, you go there. It's one or the other. It's choice.
Correct.
You know, and a lot of my writing, for instance, the published piece, my first one with that's called "Views from an Amateur Philosopher," speaks about the purpose of life and the choice and how you create your own reality.
And,
So
and,
you must,
let me ask you, because you dive into this, there is this very old debate between the clean slate and the predestined fate. So I'm somewhere in the middle because I believe that until you are completely independent on yourself, you are not free. You are
yeah,
under certain rules that you are following, and
yeah,
Agency,
you are
Ricardo, good
not
word. Agency.
completely responsible for
Correct.
yourself, right?
yes,
And for your future. You take a lot of
Free agent.
decisions, but you are still under some kind of limitations that
Correct.
parents,
Good word.
family, whatever
Limitation.
does that. So once you become independent,
mhm,
then apart from what everybody else suffers, there is the environment, the social pressures, apart from all of that, you are completely free to create your destiny. So even someone that says, "Oh, I've grown in the ghetto," right? But you have at least the choice to try and escape that environment and make for yourself through your own effort, right? So I want to hear your opinions in regard to: do you think we are a clean slate when we were born? Do you think that we have a
yes.
predestined fate that we cannot escape? Because that's the answer for many people that have addictions or problems. They say there's nothing I can do to fight it because I was supposed to be like this, right? So tell me,
Now,
what, as a philosopher, what do you think about this?
my second piece that I published was about fate, chance, and luck. So that's a perfect segue into that. And the reason why I don't believe in fate at all is because you're given the free will to make every choice. You, that you're given the free will to make every choice. Okay, the sixth principle of the universe within the Hermetic philosophy or the Kabbalion that from Hermes Trismegistus is cause and effect. So the universe has a cause and an effect. If there was a predetermined fate for everything, there is no cause and effect.
Hmm.
Okay, fate is just a word that you use similar to chance and the word luck. for something that you cannot easily calculate. It doesn't mean it's not calculable and that you cannot calculate it. It means that it's not simple enough for you to calculate.
Hmm.
If you had a predetermined fate, then you have no free will. You are governed by the law that was set upon you. And that's not how the universe works.
What
So,
if? Well, I'm sorry. I'm going to let you keep going. Because
no, go ahead.
naturally, I start to, look, I'll lay the foundation, George. My own experience, and only my own experience, right, has led me to the observation that when viewed on the individualistic perspective, that our idea of free will, right, is limited. It is existent, but perhaps more limited than we first believe. And I'll stop it here. I'm going to try to keep this real simple. Imagine a life path. You know the idea of life paths, right?
Yeah,
Where
yeah,
where in this, if one takes this on board, one is taking on board the idea that in the permanent reality, before introduction to what we call this physical reality, you agreed to a certain set of circumstances. You agreed to a certain set of circumstances of the overarching story arc of your time here, your ride. Okay. Now, within that ride and that story arc, I have every single day constant myriad choices, right? Every single
yes,
one that can lead me anywhere. Now, from our
right,
limited human perspective, us believing there is something, some force omnipotent enough to have us on a guided trajectory, but still, like a video game within it, have an amount of freedom where we can alter the course to where we end up eventually, but with an overriding story arc. Now, that in a nutshell is kind of how I've come to interpret it because of who's the French philosopher that said, is it Sartre, who said, looking back on one's life, one can't help but have the uncanny feeling that it had an authorship. That when you look back, it looks as though it was written. When you look back, it looks as though every little thing that you thought made no sense, was the worst shit that could possibly happen to you,
Hmm.
was necessary to get you to that triumphant moment, right? Or to whatever. When we look forward, we lose that ability, right? Because we are caught up in the moment, in the temporal experience, which is as it should be. That's why we're here to do that. And we get blinded to the fact that we have guardrails of sorts for a story arc we're here to live out. There, I'm going to stop right there so you hear where I come from. And if I do say
yeah.
but, that's kind of my angle on it.
No, I get it. That makes sense. But you're thinking in the physical form and you're not thinking in the mental. So, yeah, you're limited in the physical form. You can't fly.
Okay,
So,
talk to me about what that means.
so,
Yeah, limited in the mental versus the physical.
so you're thinking that, yeah, yes, you are guided within certain rails. That's absolutely correct. And you can't fly. You can't jump off a building and land on your feet. Well, you can, I guess. It depends on how high you are. But yeah, so you are you are limited. There's limitations, but you still have the free will to make that decision to try to do that. So it isn't a predetermined fate that you will do it. You need to decide for yourself, and that is a good versus evil debate as well. So if you think about it, your fate in this instance, if that's what you want to call it, also decides on whether you are inherently good or bad, or if you can become good or bad, right? The positive versus the negative. There's no in between. Okay, you can create a positive experience that changes somebody's negative reality, or you can create a negative experience that changes somebody's positive reality. There's no in between. You can either share in the energy, okay, or you can take the energy and keep it for yourself, like selfish. So yes, you are bound more or less, but that doesn't mean it's fate. That just means that you have a physical limitation of the thing that you can do. In the mental, you do not know. You can travel through the universe to the furthest point of the universe, and that which you cannot see in the physical form, right? That which exists beyond.
What you call
That's what.
mental, I call spiritual. I see now how
Yeah.
so we're communicating. Got it. Okay.
Well, let
Yes.
let me.
Or your soul, your consciousness,
Your
whatever you want to
consciousness.
call it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let me put
Whatever you want to
some
call it, it's
more
there.
some more fire in the wood. So I'm going to quote this. And it says, this is,
I'm having fun. I love talking this stuff, George, and
it
I
says,
think it's all that much more fun if we have different angles, and I love learning from people that have different
cool.
angles, man. So
Absolutely. That's how
I'm
the world
excited
was
you're
built.
here.
Yeah, it's
Exactly.
great.
I didn't know the
That's how the,
conversation would go this way. This is
Hmm.
awesome, man.
So it,
yeah, well, when you're around me, you never know where the conversation goes because
Perfect. We're gonna be great at parties, George. Okay, we're gonna keep them guessing.
yeah,
it goes like this. Few questions strike at the human heart existence as profoundly as this. Are we truly free? Or are our lives bound by an unyielding chain of causes and effects? The tension between determinism and free will has shaped the trajectory of human thought for centuries, drawing philosophers, scientists, theologians, and poets into inexorable pool. To embrace determinism is to see the universe as a grand clockwork, one where every action and reaction unfolds with mathematical precision. On the other hand, to defend free will is to claim that within this intricate machinery lies a spark of autonomy, the divine or chaotic force of choice. This debate is no mere academic exercise, for it permeates every aspect of life, from the laws that govern societies to the private guilt of individual transgressions, from religious doctrines of salvation to the secular struggle for authenticity. The question remains, are we masters of our fate or prisoners with the predetermined parts to play in endless cycles of the cosmos?
yes.
Here's
Well,
here's what.
that's
Go ahead, George.
interesting. Yeah, it's interesting. I believe in that question, in this instance, he's asking which one do you believe? Okay, are we this or are we that? Is this predetermined or not?
Hmm.
I don't. If you look at the way that cause and effect is, everything has a cause, everything has effect, and you drive that cause, you drive that effect, right? So you inherit the free will, you create every aspect of your own reality,
Causality, right?
yeah, it's causality. So as such, to me, words such as fate, luck, magic. Okay,
Mhm.
so you can't leave the word magic out of there either because what you think is magic is fake, right? So
Sure.
magic, chance, they don't truly exist. They're just words to describe the result, action, feeling that you can't easily calculate. So a fundamental property of the universe that exists can simply describe as cause and effect to me. Again, I am removing a lot of that complexity of how about this, how about that, and focusing on the simplicity that was written thousands of years ago, right?
Sure.
Hmm.
So to me, the cause and effect, the where, how, what, why, who is the cause, and those factors produce the effect. So you can choose all of those simple concepts consciously or subconsciously. So you need to think on even deeper level of yourself and why and your past experience, why you chose that path though.
Sure.
Right.
But
To try to know.
you still chose that path.
It's interesting because it finishes this page with, yet for all its depth and breadth, we're talking about this, right? The debate is ultimately personal. To confront the possibility of determinism is to question the very foundations of morality, responsibility, and identity. To champion free will is to embrace the weight of our choices, the joy of creation, and the sorrow of regret. In exploring these themes, we delve into the essence of humanity's struggle to understand its place in a world that is both infinite and finite, both known and unknowable.
Hmm. It's very well put. I think what comes to me as a way to clarify sort of what I said to you earlier, George, and then I just kind of want to put it to you and see where this goes. Um, Free will is most certainly there. I think a clearer way to put forward for the conversation what my experience showed me was along the way, right? After living life a certain way before, getting going to AA, right? Recovery and getting that life change going. I lived a certain way, right? As soon as that happens, bam, I start living a certain way and I start making observational notes. And I start realizing that there is, in my experience, an all-knowing force
Yes.
that can be quite benevolent towards me. And I'm talking about my early experiences, right? And what I started noticing is that if I would lean into this, if I would lean into my experience with this benevolent force, and I started submitting, as they told me in AA, my will to this higher power that seemed, in my experience, to be benevolent towards me when I made what? Certain choices, right? And so I then learned that my choices each day, every single day, if I could make them to align with this thing that seemed to have, we use the word fate, right?
Yeah.
Whatever,
Yeah.
that seemed to have some plans for me, right? Now, I could, as you say, every day choose to realign myself with that or choose to go another way. Famous AA guy says it's a constant turning. He said every day it's just a constant turning. And what he means by that is the constant choices, right?
Right.
And so a clear way for me to say, other than, I think it's all predetermined, it's that I have experienced a structure once you start attuning these choices to the higher power that I have found exists, here in this realm.
Yes.
That's a clear way for me to see it, because see, when I think of it and say it that way, I still leave room for everything, for all of the time in my life where I wasn't even aware that this force was real, right? And I was making all of these choices that were all over the place, and it leaves all that room for you can never be quite aware of this, and you can never make that choice that helps you lean into it. That's all. It just came to me to put it
I
to you like
think,
that.
George, you correct me if I'm wrong. I think that there are a very small amount of people that would like to be actually free in the very essence of the word, because people don't want to make all the decisions for themselves. People want
Right.
someone to decide for themselves, and they just have to act. And that removes from them the weight of responsibility on whatever it is that is being actuated. So
Right.
Yes. Yes.
that's how society
But
works, because people don't want to make the choice.
people want a partnership more so than allowing someone else to control their actions. Otherwise, you become a chess pawn.
Right.
And the chess pawns were created specifically to sacrifice one weak piece to protect the most valuable piece. So, in my opinion, what I search for is partnership, whether it be an intimate partnership or a friendly partnership, or hey, let's do this, let's go here, let's do that. Not just with anything, with every, you become part of that and you work together. If you want to be controlled, then that's another story. So I think more so when if you are able to elevate your mental whatever you want to call it, whatever that thing is that you want to call it, it doesn't matter. It has several names. Let's say you're confident, you want to elevate your vibration, your frequency, and if you do, then you start to see things like I think I see them, or at least in an expanded version of what you're taught that this is it. You follow this rule. This is the rule, and that's it. There's no other rule outside of this. So you're given that again. You're choosing. You're making that conscious choice to do so. And I look for partnership so that it's a team, right? We're a team. Everybody's a team. You don't control me. You don't tell me what to do. And I don't think a lot of people, some people want to be controlled. Yes, I agree. Again, I don't like speaking in the definitive or complete and this, and it's always this way. That's not so.
George, you've just described to me, I think I understand now why we have free will. This is beautiful. Keep going, sir.
Yeah, yeah. So, you understand the game, and as the chess pawn, you understand the game. You're the pawn, right? You know your beat. You know what you got to do, and you're going to sacrifice yourself for the betterment of the team,
Mhm. Mhm.
so that your queen and king are protected. Well, your king more or less, but yeah, your queen. So, uh,
It's very much like saying to the soldier, you are
yeah,
now the leader of the army. And he says,
right,
I'm not going to be responsible for the deaths of all of these people.
right.
I go there and he dies, but he does not take the leading position, because he can't cope with that responsibility. So
Yeah, yes, he agrees to be the chess pawn. He's the sacrificial piece in that team. They understand the law of the game and they participate in the universal law of causality. So in other words, that's the cause and effect aspect as well. This is the effect of me being a sacrifice. I'm the cause. So that's why.
So who is right, the deserter or the lamb? By the lamb, I
Well,
mean the guy that goes in front.
yeah, the Judas goat, as it's called. The Judas goat sacrifices himself to protect the other goat, or he sells out the other goat, kind of thing. So I don't think that's his choice to do so. I mean, he chooses to do that. That's the choice that you make. So if you are not strong enough and you don't have the mental capability to lead the team, you now become the sacrificial lamb, right? So not everybody has the internal strength because either vibrate at a lower frequency or they aren't prepared, they don't have the energy, or they're just weak, and that's okay too. That's fine. Not everybody could be Superman or Batman or
True.
whatever you want to call it. As much as you think you are, it's part of having an invincibility complex, which I've had in my life, where you think you're invincible.
Sure.
You could run through a wall, eat drywall, and drink nails.
Sure. Right.
So yeah, I mean, we all go through these parts of the phases, but some people never change.
Sure.
It's what they want to do. Other people can change, and then you start to learn from it, and you increase your vibration. You increase your frequency, and
Higher
once you
level of
do,
consciousness is how I say that. Correct. Yes.
yes, yeah, exactly. However you want to look at whatever term you want to use, yes.
Yeah.
So once you do that, you meet other people that have the same frequency and energy as you do. And that's where it gets interesting. And that's where you have conversations like this.
Right. Absolutely. So what you just gave me, Judas goat. That's hilarious. Listen, I trigger on Judah on using Judas like that. I prefer I prefer the Dead Sea Scrolls, version of Judas, which is Judas was the closest, right? Judas was the one who, when Christ stood up before them all and said, "Who amongst you knows me and where I come from?" Judas was the one that raised his hand. He then pulled Judas aside and said, "Okay, I know now you've got to do something that the others couldn't do. You've got to turn me over. It's part of the plan, right?" Now, that to me makes sense. Like, if God's a man planning with men, that just to me makes more sense as a plan. So, Judas goat my ass. Now, partnership was the beautiful partnership. Okay, here's where it hits me. Shaman over here, of course, I'm going to be talking spirit and God, so that's what hits me. But
Yeah, good.
when you say we have to have that partnership, right? Okay, so as I experienced it, right after I get out of AA, right? Look here, I think you hit dead on the nail on the head, the problem of what religion has done with God, right? Because it has taken and turned it into a power dynamic, as you say, for whatever reasons, be it control, be it power upon this earth, or what have you. So it takes God and it takes you out of a partnership. It puts you in a whatever. He's up there, he's controlling everything. There's no force down here in a subservient position. Well, what I discovered when I came out of AA and I started, bending my will to my higher power was I found, as you said, a partnership,
Yeah.
right? I found a partnership and I
You
found a
chose
partner.
you chose that. You didn't
I
find
did.
it.
Well, however you want to say it, in the
You chose to
process,
seek that. You chose
I
to
did.
seek that.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
I did. And when he gave me the first miracle out of AA and I lost the desire for drink, as a guy who couldn't travel on the road without planning out where the damn liquor stores were,
Yep.
George, and with kids who
Yes.
depended on me and I couldn't control it, right? So when I go and I take those steps at AA and all of a sudden one day I realize I'm in a liquor store to get my kid a Coke and I didn't even know I was in the liquor store until I was at the checkout. Well, what happened to me in that moment was the same thing that happened to anybody that had ever seen a miracle in real life, right? I did not need a virgin birth. I did not need a parted sea. I had just experienced a miracle, right? So as soon as I knew that, I knew that the thing I'd asked to do that for me was fucking real, right?
Yeah.
For me,
Well,
I was sold. I needed nothing more. And so from there on out, yes, I chose this partnership, but I don't want to go on and I don't want to lose the thread of this partnership because I
yeah.
think it's key. Because look, why
But you
free
got
will? Why is free
yeah.
will there? To make sure it's a partnership, right? It's not a
Or
forced, it's, go
It's
ahead.
to
right.
give you the chance of
Yes.
choice.
Correct.
It gives
So
yes.
that when I
It gives
choose
you
it, it is now a partnership. It is not now a forced subservience, right?
right.
And
You're
that
not
is what
yes.
that circle you
Exactly.
closed for me, and I'll wrap with this. When you said that word, I saw so clearly what is the difference between my experience with God and with the spiritual realm versus what so many people that are in the traditional dogmatic or religious structure, what their experience is. And that to me is, as you lined it out, is such the difference. Was I found a partnership, and in that, because
Yes.
as you said, is what we demand, I could trust then.
Yes. And that's something that I seek as well. I mean, I choose to seek that. I could easily do whatever I wanted and be alone. Selfish.
Right.
And a lot of the times that you go back to the very beginning of our conversation about helping people, okay, and helping people. I put things on my website. Okay, I create collections, right? I create collections that make no money from it, and I do that to help other people. I choose to do that, right? I create a partnership with that person that needs help with something, and the institute, we put all those things there. We've made no money from these. Well, like we haven't really made money from this, right? But we still do it because we love to do it. But we created a partnership together. I offered to help the institute when it first started any way that I could. We became partners, board members, but became partners, so to speak, but friends. And then we are creating things together. And now you have a sense of togetherness, team. I think differently than most people. Most people don't understand me, and that's fine. I don't really give a shit. You know what I mean?
It's their
Be,
choice.
to be thought well in a profoundly sick society is no sign of health.
Yes, yeah. I could care less. In the end, I put myself out there. Okay, I risk myself for my belief system or for what I think is best, and I put myself at risk, and it's okay. I accept the risk. I accept the risk because I know that what I'm doing feels right and it's positive. So if I seek a positive experience, right, it has it unfortunately the positive experiences that I seek uh, could turn into a negative experience for me because I'm seeking a partnership or I'm seeking something and I'm risking my emotion or I'm risking myself to get that. So I'm looking to create a positive experience, and unfortunately for me, it turns into a negative experience, and then I have to deal with those effects, right? So I cause and effect.
But you don't
Absolutely.
regret your choice. You just
Never, never,
you,
because
you just
yes,
regret it didn't go as you expected, but not the choice.
When
yes,
when experience is the goal, everything's a win. That's
yes.
another
If you
simple,
learn,
simple.
yes, you learn something from it, and I think that I never regret anything because my intentions are pure, and I never do anything to hurt anybody else intentionally. Now, that's a whole nother conversation that we could have versus, the intentional versus the unintentional. You can hurt somebody with a car, or you can get in an accident unintentionally and hurt somebody, and you feel bad, but it's unintentional. Or you can ram somebody on purpose, and that's intentional. Both have the same effect. People are hurt,
And
but it's
both
just
are
how.
extremely complex because you had to wake up at a certain hour, probably because you went to bed at a certain hour. You have to decide
Yes,
at that moment to pick up your car, but the other person had to make all these choices to be at that point at that moment in
yes,
time to be hit by the car. So by a divine eye that it's watching from above with no how should I say it, he's connected emotionally, but he's just letting everything happen. So he's seeing these two people converging into a situation that is causing them pain by their own choice. I think that's
oh,
that's that's the
yes,
the Christian free will, or we want to call it, or divine given free will, because although people are not aware that those choices are going to lead them to that point, the same way that the person that randomly buys a ticket for the lottery is not aware that he's going to win that lottery. He's just taking that
Right.
step, right? Because
yes,
it's like that guy that was constantly on the church, oh God, please let me win the lottery. Oh God, please let me win the lottery. And after 30 years, he got really angry at God and screamed at the church. And he finally
Right.
listened to God, and God told him, at least buy the goddamn ticket.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Because he
So yeah.
cannot do it for you.
Yes. You need.
Yeah.
In other words, you need to choose to buy the ticket for yourself.
Right.
I think a lot of times I'm very religious and Greek Orthodox. I participate in the church and I help as much as I can. I I'm part of the community. You know, it's part of a community. So religiously,
Mhm.
I don't believe that God is going to say, "Okay, we're going to give this guy money or that guy money." I honestly don't believe that. I think that as God is not a man sitting on a throne. I look at it as the most positive energy, the creator of everything, and but I don't see it as like a man sitting there playing around.
Right.
That to
Right.
me is that I don't believe so much. But believe in the I believe in the total. Okay, you have the free will to choose positive or negative. If you choose positive, this is where you go. If you choose negative, this is where you go. Okay, but it's up to you to choose which one you want to be. If it was predetermined, be like, oh, George is already coming to heaven. Let's just put him on earth so he can do whatever he wants. You know, I mean, this to me doesn't make sense, right? So that's why you say if you do good and you're not evil, you go through the pearly gates, and you can look at it. If you look at it that way, there's I don't. They made it where it's structured of here's the pearly gate. You go through these pearly gates.
Right.
I don't know if that's so much accurate. You know,
I agree. I
I
agree. I like to find room in there, and I just like to find room in there, George. Look,
I,
yes,
when you take away that beginning and that end that some religious doctrines will want to put on you about your soul's journey, right? And if you will take those barriers away for a second, and you will simply sit in the fact that of all this realm, none of this is the permanent realm, right? What we call spirit, right? What we cannot sense with these five senses, let's call that base reality, or what someone might call heaven. Okay. Now, if I quit
yes,
seeing that as a destination, as a pearly gate, right, and I just accept it as a reality that here, I'm actually in that reality now, just bound by these limited senses. Okay. Once that takes place, I can allow myself to accept that the real reason, a why for why I'm here, is the eternal part of me cannot over there experience these physical sensations. There is no pain. There are no consequences. You cannot make choices and then immediately suffer a consequence. You cannot have these life experiences. So when I am sent here, then it is for that eternal part to have those experiences so it can then take on board as part of its eternal part these experiences. Now, once I get that base parameter down, I can start to realize that that could also play out over and over and over again. And when I start to hear about 10-year-old kids that all of a sudden, start telling their parents, hey, I was shot down in the Pacific in World War II. And they take their
yes,
parents to that spot and they lay a reef and he remembers his name and what happened. And after they do that, that kid feels better and he starts wanting to be called that name and he starts, wanting to live this life
yes,
path. Right. I see indications that once you remove these hard and fast parameters of these choices affect only this lifetime, and you're opening yourself up and you're going, okay, of course there's this massive sphere, not just for me to make these wonky little choices, but for my eternal essence, right? To keep coming to this place designed to give my eternal essence physical characteristics it cannot gain there.
hmm.
yeah. One of the things that I've thought through or tried to think through and philosophize on,
Hmm.
put out an idea or theory is that maybe Earth is the hell. So you get recycled back. Your soul, when you die, goes into the universe, into heaven. If you are not good and you go through your life journey or recap or whatever, all the terms that people use, however you want, whatever term you want to use. Okay, you go through where did you fulfill what you were supposed to fulfill? If you did not, and you do not belong here, and you go back to hell, hell could be earth. And you say, okay, you're going to repeat it until you learn. You learn and you accept and you raise your frequency enough to belong in heaven, the universe, whatever you want to call it. That's something that I've been speaking about, working through, or trying to see. And again, most people will not speak to me about things like this
I
because
think if we change the word hell that you describe the way I describe Earth, okay, I'll start there. I think
yes,
if we took away that word and we call it what I call it, I just call it school. Okay,
Yes.
we here on this planet, we can understand if you grew up in America or whatever, we know primary school, kindergarten, when there's a grade system, right? And eventually that is to graduate you out into a higher level of existence, right? Okay, so if I then just see Earth as that place, right? Where here I have the opportunity to go through the furnace of existence over and over again in order to purify, change, grow, whatever word you want to use, right? My soul, so that I may then go on to other higher levels, right? As above, so below. Look, we know from looking in the physical world, we can go all the way down, no matter where we go. Quarks, atoms, cells, it just, you can keep digging smaller, same way up and down. So why wouldn't naturally spiritual dimensions, things we can't access, have this going as well? So if you have an up-down matriculation of students, right, from the
Yes.
school, uh,
Yes.
that's the way I see it. I really do. I've learned to live my life as though God says, "I'm not the great I was. I'm not the great I will be. I'm the great I am." And I learned that when you sink into that moment and you realize that He's only here now, that you are here to be in school, and you can choose to
Yes.
make that choices and live that class every day.
Yes.
Then I think what you said is the same thing I'm saying. When
Yes.
you use that
You're
word
being
hell,
right. Whatever word. See, people get caught so much. They get caught on the word. All
yeah,
right. God, Theos in Greek, Allah in Arabic. The
my favorite's Mugen, All Father.
yes. So a lot of times you get caught on just that word, but that word means the same thing. It's just a different language. There's no reason.
Different
There's no
culture,
reason to
different
say.
language. Yeah.
There's no reason to say Theos and God or Allah are different. Why would you? Well, they're saying that there's one being, and so the problem, even in Hebrew and the Jewish religion, there's a God. So whatever you want to call God or language you use or whatever, it doesn't mean it's the same divine power, right?
What I
So
picked up, keep
time,
going, George. The word I learned to use in researching antediluvian and Atlantis stuff, and when you start harping on religions and stuff that they say trickle down from there, you run across the term the one, the only one, right?
and
That
that's
was their
yes,
expression for God. It was just the one,
yeah, and
the
that's
only
what
one. Yeah.
Let me.
Hermes speaks specifically to the one. Hermes in his Kabbalion speaks about the one. There is nothing greater than the one. The one is everything. The one, and that's exactly what he speaks about. So, the one, God, Theos. It doesn't matter what you call it.
Right. I
It
call
you
him
could
Chuck
you could
every other Tuesday. It
yeah
just
yeah you can call him whatever you want. You can call that entity whatever you want. It doesn't matter.
Amen.
So it exists, and people sit here and fight over the name of it. They lose the concept of that, and they sit here and focus on, oh my God, it's not. It's one entity. You can name it whatever you want. It's there. So when you're recycled back to hell or earth in an eternal fire, which is the sun. To me, your soul does not belong in heaven. You need to go back and learn again, or learn what you did not learn in order to get here where we are pure, or you will move your frequency to the next level. So
I like this.
maybe I've been here 10 times,
Right.
and they say, okay, you will not remember these things.
Sure.
Okay. But your soul knows, your soul will retain this, and it will, once you make these choices, you will, you need to make the choice for yourself and learn, right? So you then, once you make that choice, you belong here in heaven, universe, whatever you want to call it. That name, I'll call it heaven, and I'll say my soul. My soul will go into heaven once it's recycled enough where I learn and accomplish a sense of pure, or a sense of belonging in where I should be. That's a theory that I think about.
Look,
Because the sun is an eternal fire, and you're doomed to an eternal fire until you get it right. So you're standing under the sun, and it's an eternal fire, and you're in hell.
That's so cool.
Now, look, am I right? I don't know.
let
but it makes sense.
It makes sense. It makes sense. I don't have to
That,
add to it. As you
it,
said, under the sun until you get it right. I mean, that nailed it.
before
Go
before
ahead, Ricardo.
sorry, before I dive into the earth and the sun, that as you were saying, because I think we need to extrapolate that to many earths and many suns across the
Yes.
universe. I just want to
Right.
point, to, you were speaking about, I don't see a little man bended over on a staff sitting on a throne watching
Yeah.
everything. The way I see it, I go back, so everybody understands my point is, I go back to Terence McKenna when he said to the scientists of the world in his speeches and publications that you give me a small miracle and I explain all the rest, because they cannot go
The big
all
thing.
the way to the creation, whatever it was, right? So to me, that is the creation. Is not the individual creation of everything, but is the knowledge that through a single act you can promote every single little molecule, every single little quark, part of atoms, that will then, through causality, create a vast universe as it expands through time. Right? Time and distance are creating all of that complexity. And then when we emerge here, we have the choice, and animals to a certain point have the choice to either, from a materialistic position, they will say everything is premeditated for you, because it's all a consequence, a mathematical consequence of all that equation that we cannot calculate, because it goes all the way back to the beginning. We cannot calculate that complexity of what we call chaos. To me, chaos is just a mathematics that we don't understand. That's why we call it
Yes.
chaos. It's too
100%.
complex. It's too complex. Or you can see yourself as part of that creation, and you can meander through this dimension where you are placed in, and you can make your own choices in it under certain limitations. I cannot decide to go and live into space because there's no air to breathe. But in this system, there are infinite choices that any human can make, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's how I see God. God is not the one behind every single independent grain of sand, but is someone who has the someone. When I mean someone, that's not what I mean. It's something. It's a
Sure.
power
It's the,
who has the capacity from one single action to create an entire universe of action reaction, of causality, of relation between time and space, and that includes this being that we are, that is capable of reasoning, is capable of thinking, right? So
yeah.
when you say the earth and the sun in that
The-
relation, as the sun being the furnace, then we have to extrapolate to all the systems that have a sun and an earth. What I mean by this is a planet in the area where you can have life within a star that is not hot, too hot, or without heat enough to create that life on that system. So this multiplicates through the whole universe as a multi-existence in complete without the knowledge of every single one of them, because we still don't have knowledge of everything, of anything else. So
Yes. Absolutely. Well, it's the universal law. You can discuss the simple, the, the chaos theory, right? That's what they call the chaos theory. Or, but yeah, within the chaos, again, the complexity, the chaos is the complexity, and you remove the complexity and you focus on the simplicity. You remove the simplicity from that complexity, right? So you seek to find a cause, and then you understand it, or what is the effect, and say, okay, what is the what? This is the effect. So the universal law becomes apparent when you discuss everyday life. It's rather easy to notice on small scales, but it becomes more difficult with things quite often considered complex.
sure,
Let's take
because that's a solution to omnipresence. That's the solution to omniscience, because omniscience. Because if imagine that you create um, either a game, or you isolate a little part of that chaos and you decode that tiny fraction of the chaos, and you can decode it mathematically, right?
Sure.
You can understand that part. You know exactly everything that's going to happen. You can simulate it on a computer. You know exactly how every single particle is going to behave and what is the final result. I'm not sure we're there yet, but we are getting close. So
No.
this
Yeah.
force was capable of a simple enter on a keyboard, hypothetically, create an experience, right? That he knows all the possible outcomes of it. So I would trade that omniscience of everything to a capacity to understand all possibilities. So he knows every
Sure.
single choice, every single ramification that every single thing is doing along the way. It will ramificate into new choices, into new opportunities, into new sorrows, into new happiness. And humans are navigating through all that, right? But
Yes.
there is something that contains all that information from that single instant where the program started. By saying program, I'm just being hypothetical.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
the
Look
only
at the.
monkey wrench I have to throw in that for you, Ricardo, from my experience, is simply this: that whoever it is you believe pressed that enter button, let's call the one, whatever,
Sure.
that in this
Or his
place,
mind, creation
in
from his.
in in this place that which
The
we
all.
are, when we tune in this place to this moment, in my experience, this one is an individuated consciousness with which one can interact and have a relationship
It's
with.
connected to everything.
And he can, even in the moment, it shows me a presence, Ricardo, is all I'm trying to say. It shows
Sure.
me a presence where in the moment I can interact with this force to keep it clean, this individuated consciousness, and effects can be immediately put forth in front of me, in front of this material reality, which only that force could have engendered. Right. So I then see that this thing that you say press the enter button is also here present and can hop in the program and diddle around
At
with it at
will.
any given moment.
At
Yeah.
will. Sure.
And the
Yes.
other thing, well, before you go, George, I want to throw a book name out at you. Everything you said about hell and the school and all that, I heard Jonathan Livingston Seagull. Are you familiar with that very short novel?
No.
I'll send you info on it. It takes like a day to read. I even forget the author's name, but it's all about this seagull that starts learning he can fly, he can do tricks, and what he really wants to do, he doesn't understand the other seagulls. He just wants to fly, man. He can go all the way to the top. He can barrel roll. He starts doing all these tricks. Well, it becomes
Yeah.
an allegory for the human experience here. And what happens is once he starts flying so fast and so far and he's all alone, he's up in the middle of nowhere and all of a sudden another seagull appears by him and it's all white. And he's kind of tapping him, going, yeah, listen, you want to come on up here with us? And he brings him in, just sort of this ability, man, you can go all kinds of places. He then enters where your school analogy left me. You can graduate, right? You
Right.
can. But just as in this real world, some of us, we know students who are in their 50s. They don't need to go back to school. They don't do it for anything other than to keep going, to keep learning, right? I
Yeah.
would posit that there are souls among us who would choose to do the same thing, who would choose to go, I'm going to keep signing up for courses because I'm going to keep learning and keep adding to what this place can do for me, which gives a slightly different color than the word hell, because while it is trying and difficult, and that's the point of this furnace of training, there are probably one or two of us that choose to keep going.
Yeah. Absolutely. I took out the Kabbalion because when you speak about the one, he speaks about the all. That's actually
Oh, there you
what I
go.
was
Yeah.
thinking. Yes.
That's the
So
one.
the all, God. So it reminded me of that when you say the one. So that's why I bring this out. This is one of my favorite philosophers. So I quote a lot of this because a lot of it is just apparent. I mean, the universal law, the apparentness, the effects. Uh, you take the word love, which all of a sudden is a four-letter word, right? And the four-letter word becomes hugely complex when you put people together and you talk about intimate relationships. So love is the effect, but the cause is what creates that love. So that effect, what causes that? Well, what is the cause of that? So the words and actions of the two are the cause. The feeling of two energies coinciding as one is the cause. The effect becomes love. The effect is desire. The effect is the quest to create positive experiences together. The cause leads to happiness. It leads to this, right? It leads to, I don't know, adoration, attraction,
Hmm.
not just physical, but mental,
Sure.
right? So
Well,
it's not just, you see pretty women all over the place, whatever. But a lot of times they speak and you don't even want to talk to, at least me, I can tell. I don't even want to talk
I
to them
have a
because I'm
pressing
not going.
appointment.
Right.
I don't want to talk to those people because if they're not beautiful on the inside and outside,
Right.
I'm not trying. The effect of that is not love to me. Okay,
Right.
the
And
effect of
I
that
don't
is
want to
just
take that on board. I'm with you.
yeah. So you coincide, not coincidence type of thing. Truth as opposed to fake, truth as opposed to magic, chance. What is real? It's not merely chance. It becomes what's real and what you admit is real. And a lot of times I seek that truth and I ask why, and I say, "Holy shit, I can't figure this out." A lot of times I'm left baffled. A lot of times it's things that I do not understand because the complexity behind it, I can't calculate the complexity within that. So I can't calculate it. And now and someone like me, I'm a pretty emotional guy and I'm passionate and I do things like that. So a lot of times it's a struggle, man. It's tough. But what did you learn from it? And can I graduate into the next level of heaven or whatever your title is? So
Right.
I would use the word heaven, right?
Yeah, sure.
That's why I think that I keep defending this. That
Ricardo, speaking of love, I'm going to let you go, but I need to hop up and make a sandwich real quick for my daughter. It
sure,
will take me 4 minutes. Apologies, gentlemen, and to those at home. But
sure,
yeah, love is our generator. So, Ricardo, make your point, and I'll be
sure.
right back to
We're
carry on.
finally going to start to have clever conversation.
Oh, get this big, hairy guy out of the way. I'm going to finally leave the women something to look at. Get this
Uh,
mess out of the picture. I'm going to go feed my kids. I'll be right
Sure.
back, gentlemen.
yeah, go feed the kids. That's part of
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
what you
Part
have
of
to
life.
do. That's the choice you made to go make a sandwich. I mean,
Well,
uh, so Ricardo, the bottom line is a lot of people get caught up in the complexity. They get caught up in the word and they focus on just this word or what. When you change the way you think of things, the things you think of now change,
and I think
right?
the key to follow or to try and be more assertive on everything that you are saying, or those choices, right? Especially what people to relate to or actions to do in regard to this to that. I keep defending that thinking or trying to people believe that it's their brain that is doing the thinking, and so thinking will lead you to the wrong choice. I believe that emotional intelligence is what maintains us connected to what keeps coming and going through this hell or earth, whatever you want to call it, because that remains the same. So if we use our emotional intelligence, we are constantly connected to that something, to what Rupert Sheldrake calls the morphogenetic field, where the real self resides, that is then connected to whatever we came from, right? Because this is just a suit, it's just a body that we use to experience this reality, or we are put in to experience this reality, whatever you want to see it. So
Yeah,
by focusing ourselves in the brain, we are just keeping ourselves in the material realm. And that doesn't understand. The brain hasn't got the capacity, exactly as you said, to do all the calculations. So some
no,
people get overwhelmed and make the wrong choices. Some people get too optimistic instead of just feeling your way through the conduit that is this existence, right? So
absolutely.
I,
And again, sometimes when you change the way you think and you change the way you look at something, the things you look at they change. The things you think, the things that you think about, and if you think about them differently, they change. Let's take water, right? H2O, the H2O, ice, water, steam. They're three different things, but yet they're one thing. It's just different forms of it. As a chemical compound, a water molecule contains one oxygen, two hydrogen atoms. H2O, as they say,
it
right?
can present itself in different ways.
And there's what, so it's one single. It's a single. It's a chemical compound. It's H2O, but it transforms itself. So it's one that can become three, but it's still the same chemical compound.
Sure.
They're connected. by bonds, and they can exist in gas, liquid, or solid. So your water, your ice, and your steam, but it's still the same. It's still the same internal chemical compound. Oh, George, you're not a scientist. Fuck you. You know what? I don't care. I don't
We are all
care.
scientists.
Yes, I don't care. I'm not a scientist. Oh, you don't have a degree in that? Yeah, I do. Actually, I do. I have a mental degree in it. Okay, I don't need a piece of paper to tell me that what to think or whatever. But anyway, sorry, I rant. The initial effect it would be so what you add to it. So now, when you change the way you think of things, you can now see something different. It's still the same, but it's become three different things, or can be three different things. So the theme is the effect. There's a cause and effect within this as well. The theme becomes the effect from heating, and it transforms into another form, but it's still the same complex or
Sure.
like chemical complex
Can
chemical compound.
can even jump stages instead of following the normal from ice to liquid to gas. You can even jump stages. So
Yeah. And it depends upon the vibration of the H2O. So,
exactly.
and that's another part of the principles of the universe. Universe, everything vibrates faster, slower. The slower it is, the more solid it is. The faster it is, the more air, gaseous, gaseous it becomes. The medium would be a liquid type or softer type. So you have one single compound, well, chemical compound, I should say, that is one hydrogen, one oxygen, two hydrogen, and it turns into three different things because of the vibration or how fast that molecule moves. So, what is the cause of that? You can see the effect as water, ice, gas,
Sure.
right? But you can't, and then you can with this, you can easily calculate the cause. Say, okay, it's cold, it's slowed down the molecules, and now we got ice. Oh, it's warm enough where it's water. They say it's really hot and it's boiling at this. So yeah, it's easy to calculate, but a lot of things aren't. So if you change the way you think of things, the things you look at change. Then once you start adding things to it, like salt and all this, then it changes completely. Now you're adding a salt compound to it. Um, Now you're changing it, and chloride atoms are surrounded by water molecules and sodium, and you could sit there and go through there. It's order though. It's not so much chaos. It follows that universal law. One cause produces one effect, and it linked to the second cause. The second effect, and it can continue to the infinite, where you can actually go back and say, if it continued, you can probably calculate something like this back to the beginning.
Sure.
It's
Everything works
it,
in circles. You see.
yes,
So
and it's all a linked. It's a linked chain, and it's an infinite universal principle.
Jason, we've talked a long time. Please.
Did you have fun without me? Were you able to actually get some beneficial knowledge advancement taking place once
Oh,
I got out of
we
the
are
way?
already lowering the level so that you can follow. Don't worry. So.
Yeah, we were talking about water, ice, and gas.
I was
I think,
lost.
yeah. In other words, uh, in the Greek Orthodox religion, it's like the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. They're all the same. It's all one. It's all God. And a lot of times people, how can that be? You have three separate things.
I'm with you. Water, vapor. I'm totally with you.
Yes.
Yes, I've heard that.
So
Yeah,
H2O is, it's a compound. So it doesn't matter what form it is, it's still the same.
correct. Correct.
So
And you sit here and
how do you see it, it requires faith, acceptance, or is there a way we can understand the concept of one God that is also the Holy Spirit and Christ? Especially when the Holy Spirit is more easy to understand because it is a spirit, but Christ was actually a person. I see Jason, his tooth is starting to move right there. So
yeah,
I'm just making a simple question. Just don't get mad at me. I'm just.
Dude,
No,
I'm
no,
just sitting. I got a nicotine pouch. You were misreading my getting my nicotine as sucking my teeth over your comment.
no. That applies directly to the H2O. It's one compound that has taken three forms, so it's one. It's the all. The H2O is the all in this story. When you look at it this way, the all becomes H2O. All right, and then it just takes three different forms, but it's the same. It's one. It's the all.
Hmm.
So that's how you could say, okay, how can we have three? It's not three. Again, you change the way you think of things. The things you think of change. The things, the way you look at things. So now you have one H2O, and it takes three different forms. So the Holy Spirit is the gas. You can, the ice could be the actual, Jesus in this instance, the physical form, and water could be God. So, I mean, you could look at it that way. To me, I like that explanation. The best is how you can have three things and say it's one.
So you have, just as you have three different properties, right? You have three different functions or expressions. And what I mean by that, let me say it like this. All right, I'm standing with a fellow shaman buddy of mine one day out in the woods, and there's a gentleman that comes up and he starts talking to us, and he says some shit that I'm telling you. God had to have been listening to our conversation, brought a perfect stranger up who had no idea what the hell was going on, and started spilling stuff that you never spilled in front of anyone, right? Okay. It was just it was one of those moments where you're like, what just happened? Okay.
Yeah.
Brian looks over at me and says, that spirit pulling it out of. All right. Now, Brian, like I, also understands or relates to a individuated consciousness that we call the all, right? Brian didn't tell me that was God pulling it out of him, did he? All right. So where I'm trying to get this designation is why we do represent. We've got a consciousness with which is the all. There is also a actionable sort of force, and without I don't want to go deep into this because Christians everybody's got their own interpretation, but I think you can say it simply as spirit being sort of the actionable force of the all here, right? It's just kind of the way I want to say it simply. And then what do you have the third? You have that same quantity in man, right? And
Yeah.
if we are talking specifically about Christ, then he said specifically that what I exhibit is what you are also. He says you will do greater things than me. He
Yes.
says the what I come to do is to open this to you, to give it to you so you can see, right? I give you the spirit. I give you the actionable force of God. That's what the Pentecost was, right? The Holy Spirit coming down. Hope
Yes.
I'm not messing that up. He said, I'm giving you access to the actionable aspect of God, right? But also, I think we look at this Christ as an individual, but if we look at Christ's words, he was trying to get across to everybody. Don't worry about how you define where I came from. Worry about the fact that I'm trying to show you how to operate what you are. Just the same
Sure.
as that force is here operating it to show us, that's kind of roughly in very simple terms,
Sure.
Ricardo, where I fall on
Let
those.
put it how I'm a firm believer in cosmical powers that you can call gods or spirits. I'm a powerful believer that there is something beyond the visible that can take action either to help you or do otherwise because there's people that have bad experience. But I give you an example. It's 3 a.m., right? And I'm arriving to this city called Algiers, and I'm doing a 90-degree turn, and I like driving, and because I have a very good training in driving. Uh, Sometimes I drive fast, but the conditions change because the truck that washes the road had just passed. So
Mm.
instead of making the turn, I had understeer and go with the wheel to the sidewalk, right?
Right. To
It,
the right. Yeah.
and it blows my tire off,
Yeah.
bends a little bit of my front triangle, right? And I'm there thinking, what the hell am I going to say to my father, right? It's 3 a.m. There's no one. It's an open. It's like a plain of sidewalks because it's a huge place where buses come and stop, so you can see all around you. There's no one. And as I just turned myself, and when I turn back to watch the car, I see these two individuals out of nowhere, mid-distance, coming to me. And they didn't even say good night. I couldn't even speak because I was paralyzed. So they came, they took the tire out, they went to the back, they took the tire, they put the tire in. Somehow the triangle was straightened. I can't explain it, right? And I drive home instead of calling the truck and having to explain to my father all the proceedings of the night. So I have multiple experiences like this. So I
Yeah.
firmly believe that although I am a person that somehow bad luck sometimes strikes, right? I'm considered very lucky because
You survive.
every time
It always,
that I really needed something, something came up and
that's it.
put a hand beneath me and took me, right? You might call it God, I call it the cosmos hand.
Sure.
I
Yeah.
think it's all semantics, right? It's all how we decide to look at things, of how our perspective. I think it comes
Yeah.
a little bit from that.
The energy, energy. This is how things work. The frequency, the energy, the light, the vibration. It's how the universe works. So yes, it's that frequency that someone either was attracted to that comes to help you in this instance. But this is a cause and effect. That's straight cause and effect. This is the cause you could have calculated because you turned to the right, hit and the effect was
It's my
damage, and you
fault.
were insured.
It's my
Yeah, and
fault.
that's fine. And you know what the difference is? It, if you admit it and say it's my fault, or if you hide it, or if you lie and say so to your father, if you don't tell your father, whatever it is, and you hide all this stuff, this is where it becomes evil. This is where you don't learn your lesson enough to go into the next phase of heaven, whatever you call that. Again, I'll use heaven. You don't go into heaven, and you come back to into hell and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean it's all linked. It's
I think you
it,
can experience those things here. Let's just grow. And what we said earlier, you talk right where you just said about moving on to this heaven or hell. I'm going to complicate matters and tell you that in my experience, I believe that we can experience levels of consciousness even being locked and unlocked for us based on choices over time. You know,
sure. Yeah,
yeah, I believe you can experience what you say on the macro level right here in your singular go.
yeah. Well, I've been put under anesthesia for operations, and every time I go under, little by little, I connect with something, right? And I meet something, whatever it is,
Mhm.
because I wake up and I know what I'm talking. I most recently had, well, not recently, it's been 3 years now. I had a tear in my intestine after a colonoscopy. I don't want to get crazy, but
Oh gosh.
so, so yeah, and I was in the hospital. I had surgery, but when I was under anesthesia, getting the operation to repair the intestine, whatever it's called, I forget at this point. So gastro, whatever. So they repair the tear in my. But when I go into so my consciousness is able to connect with whatever it is that's out there, and I can wake up and actually remember some of this. One time I wrote it down. I have some of that. It's in my work. A lot of my work is written off this because I felt like somebody gave me a piece of knowledge that I asked for, wanted, or whatever, and I had that. So yes, my consciousness, my soul went somewhere. I woke up and I wrote it down, and there's witnesses to a lot of what I was saying. So I don't care if people believe it or not. I don't really care. I could care less.
It doesn't matter. It's your
I,
Yeah,
experience.
I, I
It's
believe
your
it,
experience.
I mean, if you're asking
yeah.
me.
Like a lot of times when you can't tell, I tell people this and they look at me like I'm insane. I really don't care. I could care less. This is my experience. This was my
Yeah,
experience.
George, it's not
And
insane. It's not insane, man. When you keep going with that, what you described, that connecting with something while you're in a relaxed consciousness, right? Okay, well, we can do it with. I've done it with psilocybin, right? You could use cannabis. You can use all sorts of different things for tapping onto different levels of consciousness. The way I describe it is this: is once you do that, okay, George, once you have your experience, you can then start going back to that experience. And what's going to
yes,
happen because that experience is a higher level of consciousness. is your baseline is here. Okay. Well, when I start visiting this place, what I can do, though I can't stay there, I can start building I like the word scaffolding, right? I can start
Right.
building a scaffolding, keeping pieces that I got each time with me so that my net result, once I get enough scaffolding, is my baseline level of consciousness is now up here and I'm able to walk around with a higher baseline level of consciousness. So more than just believe you, I in my experience, leaning into that was a provable fact.
Yeah, I mean, ayahuasca, that's the one thing that I never tried that I think might have the same effect as me being put under anesthesia. Like I'm not into drugs. I don't do drugs unless you guys got some. But but no. So yeah, I'm not.
Well, drugs, you've got methamphetamine, and by the way, if the meth dealer has more teeth than you, it's the police. But, I refer to things like psilocybin and anything naturally springing from the earth. I mean, honestly, bro,
Yeah,
it's medicine, right?
yeah. So
Drugs are Flexeril or whatever the pharmacy's trying to shove down your throat that was
yeah,
cocaine and petroleum.
look, yeah. So I'm not into drugs. I don't really drink that much. Have we explored with all that stuff in the past? Yeah, of course. But I'm not. That's none of that stuff is for me.
Right.
But like you said, if we're going to do things like that, it needs to be proper. And I'm not against that. I would actually do that. I remember doing mushrooms one time, and having some of that similar effect. So those natural drugs or whatever plants and stuff like that.
Sure, sure.
And ayahuasca in particular is something I've always wanted to try to see if I could really connect myself again with the whatever it is that's there. That a lot of times people say demons or whatever it is, but those are things I haven't tried. I would like to one day.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could go
Same. I
into the
haven't
woods.
either.
We
I don't know
have
if
to
I can go into
organize
the.
one through the institute and go all to Peru.
I think so, Ricardo. Yeah, most
I don't
definitely.
know. We go down to Costa Rica into the not the desert, the into the forest or the jungle.
Yeah.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What I think
So
about drugs is people, most people, probably more than 90% of people take them lightly. And drugs require setting. They require a preparation. They require a state of mind instead of just taking them, right?
Yeah.
And the other thing I wanted to add is when you're talking about having those experiences, be it through anesthesia, being through a specific moment in your life when you didn't have nothing, or be it through a spiritual experience, uh, they all give you the chance to start looking in a broader sense to this reality. Like you start noticing the synchronicities. You start noticing more things that you would if you are just closed in your life and in your mind. You start being a part of things instead of just being something that is moved through things, right?
Mm.
So, and I think that's why some people are more, let's call it spiritual than others,
yeah,
or more
Dr-
sensitive than others because they were given that choice and they took it instead of just denying it. How many people had the same experience than you would just say, it just happened because I was giving anesthesia, so it's a normal thing, right? You prefer
yeah,
to think it mystical. You prefer to think it significant, right? And that lead you into the path that you've taken since then, right?
yeah. Well, drugs. Most of the time, people are taking drugs to heal themselves from a pain, whether it be physical or mental. And a lot of times, alcoholism or drinking alcohol takes the pain away. Smoking weed or doing that, it takes the pain away. And that doesn't necessarily mean I like when I had that surgery. Instead of taking the pain was atrocious, right? So I had massive pain for months. But instead of taking the man-made drugs, I took the gummies with THC and whatever. That took some of the pain away, but I didn't get addicted to it. I took that as a pain reducer or to so. But a lot of times people will do these drugs to take their mental pain away, or sometimes they're physical. I had taken those gummies to as opposed to oxycodone, right?
Sure.
So I'd
Much
rather
healthier
take.
choice, sir.
Yes. So I had a whole bottle of oxycodone, but the pain was so bad, and I could tolerate tremendous amount of pain. But we're talking about pain at another level. So I'm like, okay, something's got to be done here. So yeah, sometimes I needed that at that time. But people will just take those drugs, in particular, meth and all this other stuff, to take their pain away, and they don't even realize why they do it. They're getting high or so, but it's just like when you help somebody that fills that void. You're helping somebody because that's what you want to do. It makes you feel good. Okay, you're doing the same thing. You're healing yourself from something, pain that you suffered.
Or you become
Uh,
dependent of the dopamine, of the joy
yes,
that it gives you, or the
yes,
freedom that it gives you, instead of
yes,
being a significant moment.
yes,
It's just an expiation of whatever it is that you are feeling. So
yeah. So if we're
It's
gonna,
expressed a lot of ways in AA. They say, look, they said I was an alcoholic. I didn't know what that meant. I just didn't realize I missed God too damn much. But the simplest way, I had a friend put it like this. He said, especially when you're seeing it from a God or even Christian centric perspective, is simply this: is that it's evident when you spend time with addicts and alcoholics that we were made to worship something. And what that means by is when you spend time with an addict and alcoholic, it's obvious what they worship, right? It's obvious what comes before everything, what you'll make all
yeah,
choices for. It is your God, right? And that's what the Bible means when it says idols. He's not talking about making a little thing. He's talking about what is your God, right? So as an addict, you've got this God. It's filling that hole, right? Which and of course in AA and all sorts of spiritual traditions, they say turn to God, turn to your higher power, to the all, to whatever Chuck on Tuesday, and find take
it's like
this
the
natural
motivation to all
instinct
things,
this
right?
natural instinct towards passion, purpose, and addiction, right? We misfire and we miss aim at all of these things when I guess the tradition I'm coming from says aim that at the one, and all the rest will start sorting itself out.
yeah, absolutely. I agree. Like I said, the experience I've had with alcoholism, I relate to what you say and everything that
Yeah.
you say. And like I said, it wasn't an experience that I created. It was the effect. I experienced the effect. The cause was somebody else.
Right.
That's it. And I think in the end, it's the importance of all of this really is to create enough internal space to allow all of these parts to coexist without contradiction. And
Yes.
it becomes necessary so you can expand your mental capacity to receive the fullest amount of energy. It transforms, you absorb it, the remnant. It's all of the vibration, the frequency, the light. Uh, Once you allow yourself to think deeply enough about the things that aren't easily noticed,
Yes.
you become more aware of the possibilities that truly exist.
I think I call it to take the responsibility of your existence. Right?
Yes,
Instead of just exist, you take the responsibility of what you do and when you do it. That's why I
Take
say that
agency over your
the
life.
difference between knowledge and wisdom, in a very reduced sense, is that knowledge will tell you what to do or what to say, but it's wisdom that will tell you how, when. Sorry, knowledge will tell you what to say, but it's wisdom that will tell you how, when. I keep mistaking this. So,
Have you read The Peaceful Warrior, Ricardo? He says it like this. He's washing the windshield at a gas station and he says, what's the difference between knowledge and wisdom? I don't know. Knowledge is knowing how to wash the windshield. He then throws the scraper at him and he says, wisdom is washing the windshield.
okay, okay.
yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah, absolutely. It's interesting. The whole the whole construct, the complexity, the simplicity. You can and you can sit here and theorize and speak about this for hours with people that understand or try to understand or ask why or are willing to have an open mind to discuss things like this. Because a lot of times people are like, where are we going to drink next? What are we going to smoke next? Where are we going? What are we doing to occupy your time?
Right.
And you're not really learning anything. You're just becoming a creature of habit and you're repeating the same thing over and over again. The same class you're just taking over and over again.
Yeah.
Every single day you're taking the same class. Okay, we got history, like high school or whatever. The same thing every day. Okay, at this time we're here. And it becomes okay. We're going here. We're going there. We're learning the same. You're learning something new, but you're the same thing. So it becomes a repetition, and you're starting
The
to,
Matrix, right?
yeah, I mean, that's it. But once you break away from that and say, you know what, I don't want to do that today. I'm not going to do that today. I'm going to do something different. You use your free will to do so. And now you start to learn other things and experience other things. And you're like, wait a minute, I like doing that. Okay, it was a positive experience for me. Let me try this. Let me try that. Let me try that. And now you start creating different things. Be like, I like this. And that's how things like the iPhones and computers and cars are made because, oh, this works. I like doing this. And then next thing you know, people create physical things. I like to create experiences much more so than physical. I create physical things too, but
But they
mostly,
come from an immaterial world. You just
yes,
materialize them.
yeah, well, yeah. So right, I create the things. I create positive pieces, whether it be physical or mental, and that's what I like to do. Again, that's part of. I don't want to say helping people, but it makes me happy to do that, and it makes me feel good, right? So you create a positive experience. Sometimes, like charity work that we do, we create an event, and people don't really focus on this, and they don't understand they're there to have fun, but what they're really doing is giving money to the event, right? Like we raise the money, 5, 10, 20 grand, and we collect that money and we give it to somebody who needs it. So we created a positive experience in the event, and we collected money and we gave it to somebody who needed food, who needed whatever, you name it. We have a whole list of things. Let's just use food. These people needed food for Thanksgiving. So you just changed somebody's negative reality with your positive experience that you created. A lot of people have no idea what the main purpose of what's going on in that situation.
I think you touched in 2 points. One of them is a perfect segue into the final segment of our conversation. But before we go into your art and your creations, I just want to say that most people live without the why. And that's the word that you just said, is the why. It doesn't exist. It's just action, reaction.
Yeah,
So there's no why. It was Jason that made me think of this when he said Matrix. I thought immediately of Merovingian. You come to me without why. You just pawns in this casuality,
yeah. You just want. You
because
just want. Right?
you
Yeah,
don't know the why. You don't know the whole process, right? So what we struggle is, although we try it and we might fail it, but at least I am always conscious of the why, right? It's not an oppression, it's like a guide map
Your
to your
why.
own soul.
Your
Exactly,
why.
exactly.
Yes.
yeah.
So, but closing with this, can you
Before you
now?
close, I just want to put an exclamation point on that
Oh,
for you real quick.
go ahead, go
The
ahead.
why, no, the why. Look, if you were to go back into some of my old social media posts back when I first started this process, maybe 6 years ago, this major transition, you'll find lots of pictures and collages, and a lot of them, Ricardo, you'll see me holding up a pad, just for whatever reason. On that pad, I wrote why, question mark, because I wanted that out there because, as you say, I was seeing nobody was addressing the why, not only of why are we here, all those big existential shit, but they weren't addressing the whys of the basic things. Why am I brushing my teeth this morning? Why am I going to this job? Why am I saying this? Why am I doing that? It's
Look,
critical.
if you put to most couples, even if they are married for 15 years, if you suddenly put them, sit it down and ask them, why are you together, right? How many were
Right.
going to say or think it's a habit?
Yeah,
It's
and then
just,
and
That
then the
that
woman smacks
that
you, and
keeps
then
our
the woman,
consciousness.
then the woman smacks you for saying that kind of stuff.
but she thought the same, right? Or
Yeah.
It
probably
keeps our
Well,
more.
no.
consciousness in a lower
Oh
level,
no,
right? It
no.
does. It's
She didn't. She
repetition.
did not think. She did not think the same. So yeah, that's.
I wasn't insulting her, but look, the danger of this repetition and the effectiveness of the matrix can be expressed like this. I've held down a 9 to 5 at points in my life, years at a time. I've done time in the matrix, right? All right, what I would notice is when you're driving the same road every day to the same place, to the same home, you quit seeing those things, right? You really do. You see basically the representation of that thing. What happens when you then break out of that for a week and take a road trip? okay, you will experience a direct shift in consciousness. All of a sudden, you're
Mhm.
alive. All of a sudden, you have a why. All of a sudden, you're interested. And then you
Your
go back
purpose.
home and you wonder, what the fuck was that? What
Right.
happened? Why, when I'm over there, is life new and alive and I'm happy? And then I come over here and I'm not even seeing my drive to work anymore. Right? I call
Right.
that road trip consciousness because it's just what you're harping on, this repetition. The
Yeah.
things, when we're not asking why, we are fodder for the matrix.
But when you
Yeah.
are conscious of that why and you go back to your 9 to 5, if you really got conscious of that why, instead of doing your route to work, your
Sure,
commute to work,
absolutely.
you
Yeah,
start knowing everything and everybody. You start knowing, oh,
yes.
that girl, that woman had a bad morning, or that person is
Bill
very
Murray
happy
with
today.
Groundhog Day.
Yeah, you start notice all of those things.
Yeah,
Exactly,
Yes.
exactly that, Jason. Exactly that.
exactly
So
that. Yep.
because you are now floating like above that situation, because you know why you are there, because you know you can't, let's say, you can't escape it, you accept it.
You can't get out of here. There's no,
Yeah,
yeah.
you accept that you're doing that, but you're no longer just a gear in the machine. Although you still are a gear in the machine, but you are conscious that you are a gear in the machine, and so you can start looking to other pieces of the machine and start knowing all the pieces and how they work and how they function, and the days that they are operating normally and the days that they aren't, right? And that's that lack of understanding that presents. If
That's
you have a
good.
colleague on your job that had a bad day, how many people will notice that he had a bad day because they're just there to, I'm just here to do my job. I don't even
Hmm.
look if you
Yeah.
have a bad face or a good face, right? Because people, this system makes you stop interacting, make you stop having this empathic relationship with one another, right? We are just gears in the machine, and people get sucked into this and lose the real
Yeah.
possible
The answer.
reason of why we are here, to have an experience as broad as possible. If I buy a ticket to the cinema, right, and if they block the whole screen and give me just as 2 inches by 2 inches of the film, I will complain because I was
Of course.
expecting to see the whole
Yes.
frame of the film, right? But
Good.
most people are
Yeah. Yeah.
just watching that frame. They're living their lives just seeing
That's good.
that little frame instead of
It's a positive experience. So when you're on the road trip, you're creating a positive experience for yourself,
exactly.
Hmm.
and
Because
you're learning something because now you're exploring and you're learning something new, and it's exciting. So it's a positive experience. That changes your negative reality because your negative reality is commuting into work every single day, doing the same shit over and over again, back and forth.
instead
So
of
that
honking back and get angry with other people in the road, etc., you start laughing because,
yeah, yes,
dude, you're
you're,
still locked into it. Get free of it.
you're,
So
you're changing your reality
it's just a
by
ride.
going on a road. You're creating your own positive experience. You chose to do that by going on the road trip. The 9 to 5, it's repetitive. It's a negative experience. So you changed your reality, even if it was for a week, and you
Sure.
learned something new, and you felt good about that because it's a positive experience.
And stops
Can
being
you
something
create
empty.
can you create a positive experience all the time with everything? I
You
don't
can
know. I
try.
mean,
You can
you
try.
can you can try
Your
that.
attitude. You can control your
Yes,
reaction.
yes,
Imagine
yes.
Suffering
Jesus.
is not, no, what is it? Pain is necessary. Suffering is optional.
Imagine Jesus on the cross, right?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm not a Christian, but imagine, although I had a Catholic upbringing and school and ever, but imagine Chris on the cross when he's saying, God
They
forgive
know
them
you.
because they don't
Yeah,
know what
they
they're
know not
doing.
what they're doing.
He's understanding why they're doing it. Some of them because they have orders, others
Yeah,
because of the system. He's understanding the whole process that led into that, and he's not
yes,
blaming anyone because everybody is being a prisoner in their own lives by doing what they're doing because they didn't choose to break
Right.
free of that
yes.
action
So
reaction.
some of them, right? Some of them did it, were participating in it because they didn't believe, and some of them were, it's the good and evil. So some of them did it intentionally,
But
and
that
some did
intention
not.
Right.
has a
Or
reason.
not.
That's what
Yes,
I'm saying. That intention
yes,
has a reason. The guy that is being evil, right? He has a reason for why he's being evil, right?
Well,
Yeah.
and they had no idea about these motivations and all of that. And as you say, that's what enabled him to hang on that cross is the understanding of all of those things, or at least accepting that, Ricardo. But I also have to add, man, look, I had a buddy say it like this to me, and I've been through some shit in my life. We all have, not comparing, right? But I was in some real low moments, and we were talking about the walk to the cross. And he said, if you're talking to other men who have experienced pain, gunshot wounds, battles, real pain in life, they'll say, listen, he knew all and he could experience all, but you know what got him to that cross? He said he had 12 good friends and they were funny as shit. And where I'm going with this is humor. Humor is a source of strength, right? Beyond all
Sure.
measure, especially when you have it about yourself. And that was a visceral lesson I learned when I was going through my pain, that I could change this suffering, right? And I could start bending towards crosses and bending towards experiencing it positively, as you say. And the joke I'll end with was Brian was like this. He said, just imagine you're on that cross and you got in there whipping you and you're having a hard time and you don't know what to do and you're about to give up. And all of a sudden, one of your buddies in the crowd jumps up to that soldier and goes, hey, Roman centurion, what's underneath my skirt? Your mama's lipstick.
Yeah.
And, that was a
And,
buddy trying to hug me in a painful moment and just express to me that, there's a lot that goes into this.
yeah.
Anyway,
And
I wanted to get a
humor.
joke in for you, Ricardo.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Humor is makes you feel good. So that's funny. Those are funny things. And a lot of times, yeah, when you're in the most pain, a lot of times you can actually be try to.
Sure.
I do that.
It's a
I do that
medicine.
quite often. I
Laughter is a
do that
medicine.
quite often. When I'm struggling, it's not so much sarcasm or what have you, but it's an outlet to say, okay, I'm struggling, but I can still make people laugh, and that's going to make me laugh. So, and that's going to make me feel better. And that also goes into helping other people as well. So I'm so much more into how you can help somebody. I mean, when we take it all the way back, bring it all the way back to the beginning, like the record, you just go all the way back. So back in the day when they used to have records and like
Bring it home for us, George. Is perfect.
yeah, so you bring it all the way back and say, the desire to help somebody that fills that void within you. So you're doing that with a lot of things, and humor could be one of them. And humor is like saying, okay, I'm going to make them laugh, even though I feel like shit, or I'm really
Sure.
struggling. But I'm going to go around somebody and make them. So you're not taking your trauma, whatever you want to call it, your bad time, your trauma, and you're not putting it on somebody else. You're actually transforming your trauma into a way to heal yourself by
Transmuting.
providing comedy to somebody. Now you're feeling good. They're smiling and you're smiling, which feel good. You're healing yourself. So instead of, and that's the difference, taking your past trauma and putting it on somebody else, you're changing their positive. You're taking your negative and changing their positive.
Hmm.
So it's extremely important not to do that. For instance, your alcoholism, you could have continued with this and changed everyone's negative reality with your actions, but you chose different. All right, and the same applies with anything. You take your past trauma, you took that trauma that you had, and you put it on somebody else. That's intentional to me.
Yeah.
Okay, and when you look at it, making people laugh, being around other people, now you're taking and you're healing yourself. How can you heal yourself mentally this way?
Sure.
And I think it's extremely important. You're not helping someone else. You're helping them, but you're helping yourself, and you don't even realize it.
Sure. It's like a freedom. If you can laugh of yourself,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Well, I
Yes.
make fun of myself all the time.
You
Forget it. I
you
mean,
you no
I'm five
longer
foot
When
six.
you're alone in the woods with God, I was the only person I had to fucking make fun of.
yeah,
So
Yeah, I mean,
but you cease
that's
to
it.
you
I'd
cease to
throw one
be
his way once in a while, but I was my only target.
you
Yeah,
cease to
it's
be a
so valuable.
you cease to be a victim when you can laugh of yourself
Oh
because
yes.
you understand that it was an experience and it was
Yeah.
funny, right? Because imagine that you in schools, I think this happens a lot, that someone is ridicularized because of what he's done. If he actually is able to laugh of himself, you'll be the first to laugh, right? And those that are ill-intended will say you're just a freak, while others will get the joke and will laugh with him, right? So that's an easy way to see who's who, as long as you can honestly, sincerely, and not enacting, laugh at yourself, right? Because you disarm immediately everybody, right? Because you don't have any shame because you're just being human, right? It's funny, right? I
Exactly.
tripped. I hurt, I fall, I put my face on a cake. It
I
happened.
spill things randomly.
Sure.
Just that's it. We're
So
gonna do it. Then I just clean it up. That's how things work. I mean, there's
sure,
no.
absolutely, absolutely. George, let's close this with your art, right?
Yeah,
And you can even share your screen, share your own personal store, and then you can also show something from the institute that
yeah.
you so
Let's
graciously created.
yeah. Let's focus on the institute, and we could show some things. I think it's good
Sure.
because
So before we get off, let me say my thank you. You keep pulling up what you're pulling up, George, but I want to just say for the record how much I really, really enjoyed your time in this conversation. I know I don't even know how long you've been involved with Ricardo in the Institute. I do know that I am sort of the recent addition to this fold, and I'm just really grateful, is what I want to
no,
say.
No, George has been
absolutely.
with us since the beginning, almost.
Yeah,
So
this is this group of people, as I hope we're making evident in our program. I know we've made evident here with George tonight, but this group of people is a real serious group of people, and what I mean by that is they all exude care and concern from others. They all exude a service, and they all exude a passion and a purpose and information they wish to get out to the whole. And that just means the world to me. And I hope anybody out there that rings a bell with you and you feel you don't have anywhere to go with this stuff, that you'll look us up and you'll find what I found here, which is dudes like this.
Yeah, the fact. Yeah, like I said, when I saw they put the Institute for Natural Philosophy, I said, well, I consider myself to be an amateur philosopher. Let me see how I can help these guys, or at least participate. Right? I wanted to be participate, and it turned into something more than that. And I was willing to help for free, right? And who's going to do this kind of thing? Not too many people say, I'm going to help for free kind of thing. Like, I don't expect anything in return. I'm doing this without an expectation of a return. And these days, returns turn into money. Okay. So, yeah, absolutely. And if anybody thinks that we're wrong or anybody has anything, okay, and this is the good thing about philosophy. Anybody that wants to participate and speak us through some of these things or has other ideas and philosophies that we could talk about in this fashion, I think that would be perfect. And it could be anybody. I watch a lot of everybody besides your work, a lot of the other works as well, and they have some really good theories. The ancient alien, for instance, there's some pretty good theories within those shows.
Yeah.
Okay, it doesn't mean they're all right, but they're good theories, and there's something to
they're good
discuss.
So
questions. I
fun.
think they're good
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's so
questions.
fun. Yeah.
it's interesting. It's interesting theories, ideas, and they discuss them and they present them well. So it doesn't mean that it has to be a fact. Okay, but then there's so many people. The list goes on and on and on. A lot of them go on Joe Rogan as well. A lot of them present their theory. It doesn't mean they're right, but it doesn't mean they're wrong. That's their theory. So anybody that wants to participate in this kind of talk and be part of this, I would welcome it because who knows? Maybe someone agrees with me, but maybe somebody doesn't. And the only thing I'm not going to do is fight with somebody over that. I'd rather just discuss it. Okay, this isn't like I'm not fighting with anybody. Trust me, I mean, forget it.
Right.
So
It's
yeah,
so
so
easy,
let's
George, and I hope you and I and all of us here
yeah.
today exhibited that to folks. I mean, right off the bat, I think I interrupted with, "Hey, we disagree slightly here," or however you want to word it. But I hope
No, that's
everyone sees
it.
what happens when you approach that as equals, is you have a
Well,
beautiful conversation where everybody gets something from. It's
it's
just great.
it's 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 the best and easiest way to learn is to speak with someone you disagree with. Because
Correct.
if you only speak
Right.
with people that agree exactly what you think, you learn nothing. You'd say exactly the
Right.
same. So
Yeah, and it's supposed to be healthy to have a conversation, whether your idea is right or not.
exactly.
Uh, those people that say this is the way and the only way. I mean, look, 1 + 1 is 2. Who's going to sit here and play around with these? There's no sense of even fighting over this kind of nonsense. But with things like this, if you can't have the discussion and your way has to be the only way, you're not welcome in my book because it's not, again, there's no definitive other than
There's no advancement that
mathematics.
happens.
Mathematics is pretty much from what I would think through mathematics, like addition or mathematics in general, might be the only definitive because 1 and 1 is 2. I don't care what planet you're on. Anyway, let's so the Institute for Natural Philosophy, a lot of the works and a lot of the things that we put together, I was excited to collaborate with the Institute. I obviously have a piece of the mission, and I've created a collection within my website specifically for the Institute. So let's start from the home, where I do a lot of designs of home and living and things like that. So a little bit of everything: bags, rugs, hoodies, tumblers, a lot of these hats and towels and things
And
like that.
nothing of
I
this
like the
is
towels.
nothing of this is automatic. You draw all of these things. It's
Yeah, well, I create them digitally.
Exactly.
Yes, I used to draw them by hand. I have pictures of my artwork that are drawings that I print on canvas. I create things such as this,
I like that hoodie.
where I've done digital stuff and on canvases. I create a lot of orthodox things as well. So Mati, different pieces. So what I do and what I've done, as I mentioned in the beginning, is I create a collection. Most of these are mine, right? And you go to view all. Now I have a full list of collections that I established. Each one is different, obviously. Rugs, blankets, pillows, blah, blah, blah. And then if you look at the real collections here, when I had to bring it again all the way back, the things that we do for quote unquote free, when we help other people, we create these type of things, which are in my collection. So, these are my drawings that I do by hand, that I print on canvases and metal prints and stuff like that. But I help the Cosmic Summit as well, Mike and Dave's Multiverse, Mike and Dave's Multiverse, and my church. I've set up a whole different collection where I created everything and print, for instance, real quick, not to change the subject, obviously, but I help my church out with these type of things. So the St. George Goya and all the money that I'm going to make, I'm not keeping a penny. I'm giving it all to the church. So when you look at the things that you do, I decided and I chose to offer my skill, whatever time, I don't give it, whatever you want to call it.
talent and time.
Yes.
Talent, toil, time, effort.
My time and material. So
And
I
time is the
decided
most important and most valuable thing that we have. It's time.
yes, you're right. And a lot of times we ask for more time. So the Institute here is, in particular, what we've done is obviously created T-shirts, stickers, stuff like that, straight up with logos. One of the things that we created were books. So these ancient books, these old books. As you could see, I recreated the book with the original cover, except that I changed it just a little bit with the gold outline because it's so old and ripped up, the scan. So I created the book almost exactly the same as the original book.
Oh, cool.
It is in the museum, exactly.
Yeah, this is the Kabbalah is one of the things that we created, and it mimicked the original book.
That is so
So,
cool, man.
and then we did that with the same thing, the Mutus Liber book from, what was it, 1692 or something like that, or 1702. So, yeah, same type of thing. We made the book. So that's one of the things we wanted to do is take something that people wouldn't see or that's in, that we have the free right to, but it's in a museum and wherever.
And
I don't know.
you also used to create notebooks, right? It's
Yes.
one of the cheapest items that we have.
So, so you don't have to fly to like Dubrovnik or whatever to go wherever this would be. I don't remember what museum this was in. So Yeah. So another thing I did was obviously tumblers, and all of this supports the institute. We made the Nuremberg collection, same kind of thing with the book. Those are pretty. These are pretty straightforward. The institute, the hats that we have, all of that good stuff. That supports
Like
all
that.
this stuff. Yeah, yeah. The hats are really. These hats too come out awesome.
Yeah,
I
very
have one
nice.
upstairs. Next time I will wear. But yeah. So another thing that we did, maps. So the ancient maps we took and put them on different things like travel bags. Uh, we actually I have a metal. This one's a metal print. This one is a framed poster. We took the maps and made them available. You can hang them in your office, stuff like that. And the notebook, for instance, I just used the cover of the Mut Liber book as a journal.
That's cool.
So
That's very
yeah,
original. That's nice.
yeah, it's pretty cool where you can write on, you write on it and it
Yeah.
looks like the original book. I do that with the Greek Orthodox icons that I create as well. So we do some of these things, right? Here's another one with just the cover. We made some of
Yeah.
these jigsaw puzzles with the old maps, which are pretty cool. I made a waterproof travel bag that with one of the old maps, and then I created some things like this that truth, reason, logic, wisdom, and then it says the Institute of Natural Philosophy underneath. These are
Beautiful.
pretty. Yeah, yeah. These are interesting little designs that I made. So I put some different pieces in here. One of them I have one was with the I don't know where that went with the pyramid on there was pretty cool that I made. There it is.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I
So
like that one. Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty
Another.
interesting little pretty shirt. And then there's one. I don't know. I tried a couple different designs. Truth. I was focusing really on the theme of truth, logic, reason, wisdom, those type of things.
Mm.
And there's one other one that I did that was pretty interesting. But yeah, so all this stuff would eventually support the institute. We create different collections and try to sell these all over the world, everywhere we can.
Excellent work.
Yeah.
Go check
Oh,
out the
well,
store. Yeah, go check us out, guys. I love the fact that you've got all this beautiful work, but also, I was noticing there's all sorts of simple pieces. The $16 T-shirt, the $13 mug.
yes.
They're beautiful. They're unique. They're George's, and you can help out the Institute of Natural Philosophy by going and checking that out this holiday season.
I think this
Please.
map is. I think this map is my favorite. Anyway, yes, there you go. This would come out really nice. So yeah, any it's Yiorgos Designs, Yiorgos Designs.com, and it has its own specific collection just straight for the institute. Or you
Remember,
like you
check your
might,
drop box below the video, and I'm sure Ricardo will have put us a link in by the time this video goes out. Good.
yeah, absolutely. So a lot of people like this Mati or Evil Eye. Also, a lot of
Yeah, I love
Christians.
the hoodie, man. That is, I like that. I'm gonna have to double
Yeah,
check
and
that.
I have a couple things in there. It's really these bags come out exceptional as well.
Nice.
These are Richardson hats, so they're some of the best quality hats I could find. Best quality made hats, the Richardson hat, and those are the ones that I use for the institute. So I have a variety of different things that focus on ornate rugs, for instance, bags with the Greek Orthodox, with the Greek key on it. Then I
Yeah.
have some spiritual mati stuff or evil eye, as they say.
And it's not to brag, but every single item that you have on your store, you pick up the best fabrics, the best
Yeah.
place for
Well,
them to be made.
well,
So
yes, I use the highest quality pieces that are in inventory. Like those bags, I don't sew them. I have them printed, but I designed the whole thing. But the bag itself, I ordered before I started doing any of this a long time ago. I ordered samples of everything. I just put like a whatever, and I'm like, well, let me see if this is bullshit or not, or the quality of this. So the towels that I found, one were too thin, so I changed it, but I try to find the highest quality pieces that I could find. I don't make them, like I don't sit here and sew these stuff
sure.
together, but I'll use. the hoodie, the best quality hoodie I can use, the best quality hats I could find, the best rugs I could find, and these bags. And I'll order a sample of the bags I've made for everybody. They're waterproof. I go to Greece with them. I take it all over the world. Well, I don't say all over the world, but it's my carry-on, So these are
Nice.
anyway. Yeah. So there you go.
Brilliant.
Well, thank you very much, George. Again, it was amazing. I really enjoyed as I was expecting. I already had told Jason that we'll have a very deep and interesting conversation with you.
Oh yeah,
Well,
we can even get deeper. So
George,
the next
you said the word I was about to say. Say it. Go ahead and say it.
yeah,
Next. I heard the next time coming out of your
next
mouth.
time, absolutely. Well,
And
without
that's,
doubt. Look, this
yeah.
will be. We'll continue with this.
I see
I
a
really,
recurring conversation
Sure.
possibly.
yeah,
I think.
what would be interesting is to see if we can come up with a certain theme for it, right?
Uh-huh.
And work on it beforehand and come up with not something that we would actually have written down already or already have an
Sure.
idea about, right? So we could have 3 or 4 different topics of something completely new and discuss it from scratch.
Sure. We're creating right
You want to
here
do that
at
once
least
a month or twice a
once a
month,
month.
George?
Yeah.
And we can do it once a month, and
All
then
right, once a month, Ricardo.
I also have to be on the women's podcast once a month.
Yes.
So we're doing it twice a month. We're doing it twice a month.
Yeah, you're gonna have to compete with Rubate for attention of those two. He's got quite the crush as well. We love you, Rue. Thank you for all you do, bro.
Yeah,
And he's an
absolutely.
incredible artist as well. I think Rue really probably has a role here with the Institute of Natural Philosophy if he'd ever get around to thinking about
Oh,
it.
he's been in touch with us
Oh, good,
right after
good.
the second month or third.
But yeah, I say we set it. I'm totally with you, George. I say we look at just getting some, lead the way, get some topics together, whatever excites you first, and let's get ourselves 3 weeks out and
Sure.
just see if we can come up with doing this again.
You We'll give you a few days for you to blow our minds, and when you're ready, you
Yeah,
just
look,
say to us, and we'll make it happen.
or you could just put 3 topics down and just talk through them with no thought process at all and see. It could be, look, again, I'll create anything. It doesn't matter to me. Whatever it is, it could be positive, and it's in a discussion of a theory or theorizing something, an idea, and you philosophize about it, and you have a simple discussion. Well, it could be a complex, whatever it is. You have a discussion on it because you never know where it could lead.
You mean is
Well,
from the heart.
Yeah.
It's that's what you mean. Okay.
as I always tell Ricardo, think long, think wrong,
Uh,
and Ricardo takes that as well. So I say we don't overthink this, for
Sure.
sure,
yeah.
and we run with it. And
Next time,
I'm excited to be a part of it.
next time I'll comb my hair just a little bit better. But I think it becomes a little.
Better still. Okay.
Hey,
It becomes a little.
I'll have a full smile next time we meet. So I'm getting these next week. So we'll all be in better shape to compete for the attention of our viewership.
Sure.
But we'll wrap with a heartfelt thank you, George.
Sure.
This was far more than I was anticipating, and I'm excited about where it's going to lead.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. No, I
Good.
appreciate the time as usual, Ricardo. Always a pleasure. Jason,
Mm.
thank you very much. Uh, Again, this is incredible. It's part of what we do here. A lot of times that again we do these things for as a form of gratitude and help. Helping others, help yourself, and you don't even. A lot of people don't even realize what's going on. When you do realize that, it's like an awakening. Like, oh, I'm helping myself by helping others, and you want to do it more. So,
Precisely.
you need some balance because you can't save and help everybody. Okay,
Sure.
I think a therapist would give you 3 smacks if you think you could save everybody. But
Self-care is a critical component of that equation, no doubt.
yeah,
We can't have an institute for natural philosophy without the philosophy in it. So
Right?
let's bring it on.
yeah, maybe we should get a therapist on here as well, so they could really analyze how crazy we really are. But,
Well, I think the opposite will happen. We'll end
yeah,
up
well,
by analyzing the analyst. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
we'll start
they're
analyzing that analyst, and then we'll start competing for the highest crazy rating, and we'll just drive them insane.
yeah, that might be a good topic or theory one day. Be like, yeah, let's get the therapist on here and see how crazy George is. Be like, this guy's out of his mind. I lost my mind. Or
Yeah, but see, she's going to call you the most crazy, and I'm going to get jealous, George, and I'm going to show her something she hasn't seen out of you yet, so I can be the most crazy.
all right, guy. Hey, look, my pleasure. I
Thank you,
really appreciate it.
George.
Incredible.
Don't
You
go.
know, and look forward to continued success.
Sure,
Amen.
absolutely. It's
Now,
all our work that is leading into that direction. And since it's your first time, don't go away after we close, okay? Because
no, no.
we keep losing our guests as soon as we hit the stop recording button. So and
There's one thing that I'd like to leave it off with. You always need to take time because I think it's important. You always need to take time to celebrate the successes of your friend.
absolutely,
Amen to that.
they are your successes too. So
They are your successes, and you share that energy with them. They share it with you. Again, a lot of times people do not, the envy, the greed, whatever it is, it gets in the way. But once you realize that you share in their success, it becomes your success. You're sharing that entire positive energy. So
absolutely,
it is very important to acknowledge that, and it's very important to share in the success and wins and achievements of your friend.
Amen.
absolutely. Great way to finish.
Excellent closing words. Thank you, George.
George, let us know once more where they can find you for the people that listen.
They can find me on Instagram specifically. I use that mostly to communicate. I don't use Facebook really, except to copy my work. My work automatically what do you call it? The copies there.
Hmm.
Um, on Substack, my writing in particular is just under Yiorgos Designs, Yiorgos Designs. That's where you can read a lot of my work. The majority of my communication or photography and my sunset stuff and all that is on Instagram, where I go by my name, Yiorgos Sakelaris or Yiorgos Designs. Either way, Yiorgos is the Greek word. The American word is George. So in America, I'm George. In Greece, I'm Yiorgos. In America, I'm Greek, but in Greece, I'm American.
I'm American.
Uh, so I'm in America, Nike in Greece, and in America, I'm Greek. So either way, I don't know. Whatever goes on, it doesn't matter. But
The
yeah,
irony
Except
so
that
of life.
nowhere you're a vagabond as any true philosopher should be.
Absolutely.
yeah. So what are you gonna do? It's like you don't know what you are, but then you figure it out and you know who and why you are, and that's the most important. It's not about what you are. Anyway,
Absolutely.
so look, have a great night. Thank you very, very
Thank you very
much.
much.
It's incredible.
Absolutely. Thank you. Jason, where they
We'll
can
see you
people
next
find
month,
you?
George. Jason Huffman, screen name Shaman711. You can find me on YouTube, X, and Rumble under that. Look for my series, Antediluvian Alabama, where we examine evidence of a high heat, high energy event in our ancient past, i.e., the Younger Dryas, and my series, Finding Mabilla, where I document my process of finding the site of the Battle of Mabilla. That's me, Ricardo. Over to you, bro.
Absolutely. So in my case, you can find me at Ricard Calvary1 on X. I recommend you visit the Institute for Natural Philosophy page on academia.edu, where we do our latest publications. I would just want to make another recommendation to our sister podcast, The Universe Unveiled. Check that on YouTube. Also find them on X, Instagram, Rumble, all the usual places. They are everywhere, contrary to us, that we are very lazy. We are not on those places still. And if people like the quotes that I read, they are extracts from my book Stardust. So if you're interested, you can find it also on Amazon. And if you cannot buy it, just DM me and I'll send you a PDF of the book. That's not because of that you don't read it if you are interested. So once more, thank you very much for your attention. George, thank you. Jason, very grateful for all your work and a very fond farewell to everyone. Thank you.
Till next
Have a
time.
great one.